Welcome back to the States. I'm Greg Bishop. Last week's jobs report released. It's giving some food for thought on the strength of the U.S. economy. Now, the report was mixed, but still narrow. Professional and business services added 36,000 jobs, building on the 172,000 it had added since a recent low in October, a genuine, if not brand new, bright spot. Now, social assistance added 25,000, and healthcare added another 22,000, but leisure and hospitality jobs lost 61,000 positions. It's the sharpest one-month drop since the pandemic, based on weak seasonal hiring. Now, the unemployment rate ticked down to 4.2% from 4.3%, but the reason should temper some enthusiasm. To discuss more about why a falling unemployment rate isn't necessarily good news is Everyday Economics hosts, the Center Square publisher Chris Krug, and PhD economist Orphe Divounguy.
Unemployment fell to 4.2% in June, but not because people found work necessarily. Payrolls added just 57,000 Americans to the labor rolls. Dr. Rowe on a soft jobs picture and the Fed's new way of talking. What are your thoughts? I mean, that 57,000 ad should read like good news, but is it?
Yeah, it just confirms the softness we've been talking about, right? Basically, no job growth in 2025. We had a little bit of a pickup in Q1. But when you look at the last 3 months, the labor market's average about 111,000 jobs or so per month added. That's below, what we had gotten used to. That's below normal. Before the pandemic, we're adding, close to 200,000 jobs a month, right? So the unemployment rate falling slightly to 4.2 from 4.3% just tells you that basically the pace of employment growth that is needed to keep the unemployment rate stable is very low, and basically it doesn't take a lot for the unemployment rate to go down. Well, why is that? Well, because our labor force has shrunk so much. We have more and more people leaving the labor force or out of the labor force. Why is the labor force participation rate so low? Well, potentially because, first, we're losing people. Second, because it's very hard to find a job these days. Hiring rates are really low. And you can see it in the quit rates as well. People are not quitting their jobs. Well, why would you not quit your job to get a better paying one? Well, because there's just not a lot of opportunities out there. That's the state of the labor market.
Yeah.
Is it deteriorating? No. This jobs report tells us that basically the labor market is treading water. It's kind of just hanging in there. It's stable. It's not deteriorating, but it's not great either, right? It's kind of stagnant to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, the consensus was 115,000. That's what the anticipated number was for jobs added in June. And, they literally came in at half. But there's some interesting sort of like underpinnings that I wanted to talk about, within those numbers, right? The hiring that did occur was almost all healthcare, government, social assistance. And those are, pieces of the economy that don't necessarily respond to interest rates. There's not a whole lot of relationship there. What does that say about the private economy?
Look, if you look back at the last couple of years, basically all of the job growth was concentrated in healthcare, social assistance. Some government, not a whole lot, because basically federal government is tumbling. So almost no job growth in the private sector. Almost, in fact, negative in the last couple of years, right? Private sector job growth. That's the economy we're in right now. So to me, it's kind of shocking to me, baffling to me that a lot of people talk about a labor market reacceleration, that they talk about a strong labor market, when really, if you're not in healthcare, you can't find a job in this economy, period, right? And I think that's problematic. Also, the fact that basically you're talking about an expansion where basically construction, manufacturing, trade, transportation is close to flat. It's not negative, right? There's not a lot of cyclical momentum left in this labor market. That's what this means, right? And then you also, when you look at the latest job numbers, we also had a revision in the previous month's jobs report, a downward revision in the previous month's jobs report. At the same time, leisure and hospitality, which looked like it was going to be picking up a little bit, at least temporarily, because of the World Cup and all these other events, summer events. Well, that sector actually shed jobs last month. So I don't see I don't see many reasons to be enthusiastic about the labor market. I mean, maybe on the optimistic side, look, things are not getting worse. They're kind of just hanging in there after a major downshift is really my read of this labor market.
Yeah. So the new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, he cut the Fed's statement in half, and he stopped previewing, the next move. He's explaining how he decides instead of what he'll do. And in plain English, for the benefit of our understanding as sort of we, move into this new space with the new Fed chair, what's changed? And is there any reason for people to care one way or the other about how he's delivering this information?
Yeah, I mean, for most people don't pay attention, so they don't really care. But ultimately, the information is what he wants to do is he wants to kind of reform the Fed a little bit. For a long time, the Fed's been kind of telling you what it plans to do, right? Example, we expect to hold interest rates until more data, or we expect get more data, and when we get more data, we'll resume our easing or whatever. But the new Fed chair wants to give us clarity about framework guidance. And what he means by framework guidance is how they make the decision, and I think that's good because it gets rid of the confusion that people are having about how the Fed makes the Fed goes about setting interest rates, what goes into the individual forecast. No one really knows. And, and so having clarity on what to look for in the economy that will potentially indicate a rate hike or rate cut, I think is important, right? And so that's good. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. Now, of course, there's some cost involved with that. And you can see it right away. It's in the volatility, right? The fact that, there's less communication about where the rates are going, that causes a lot of volatility in the short run. People are confused. They're not sure. They're worried, right? The fact that the Fed chair had such a short, briefing last time around, and that he didn't seem willing to answer certain questions, causes a bit of a short-term volatility. But ultimately, I think we're going to be better off. He's going to have these task force that are going to be formed to kind of look at how the Fed does things, and ultimately, the goal is to put us in a better place. And so I'm confident that things could improve, and the Fed could potentially do a better job than it's done in a long time. And that's not to say that Fed Chair Powell didn't do a great job. I think he guided us through a tumultuous time with COVID and all the shocks, and then the tariffs. And, there was so much going on in the economy. But I think it's, having listened to Governor Warsh, the Fed Chair Warsh at the last conference at Sintra, I'm pretty confident that he's really trying to steer the Fed, to steer the U.S. economy in the right direction. He takes the job seriously.
Yeah, well, his first minutes will come out on Wednesday, so we'll have a better idea of kind of what's on his mind. And and we'll get maybe a
on the
a
committee.
read on
The
just,
committee, it's
you know,
nice. It's important to
right.
figure out, like, how do they think about these things? How do they frame things, right? So that the rest of us, private sector observers, can actually, go ahead and forecast these changes based on the incoming data that we all have access to.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Dr. O. Always appreciate your thoughts. Make sure you catch Orphe's Everyday Economics column Mondays in the Center Square. Hear us every weekend on the Center Square Radio Hour. And you can find Everyday Economics inside the States, the Center Square's daily news magazine on YouTube.